Newscentre. I'm Parikshit Luthra. The big national story: leader of opposition in the Lok Sabha and a member of the selection panel, Rahul Gandhi, is protesting the appointment of the new Chief Election Commissioner. Late last night, the government appointed current Election Commissioner Gyanesh Kumar as the new CEC. The Chief Secretary of Haryana, Vivek Joshi, was also appointed as an Election Commissioner. The appointments came hours after a meeting of the high-level selection committee led by Prime Minister. The committee also comprises of Home Minister Amit Shah and Leader of Opposition in the Lok Sabha, Rahul Gandhi. This marks the first time a selection panel was involved in picking India's top election watchdog. The government passed a law in 2023 changing the appointment process and giving powers to this high-level committee. At the meeting, Rahul Gandhi opposed the appointment. He has now made the dissent note he submitted on the matter public. In the note, Rahul Gandhi said it is disrespectful and discourteous to make a midnight decision when the selection process is being challenged before the Supreme Court. Rahul Gandhi argued that the composition of the committee is tilted in favour of the government and a case will be heard by the Supreme Court within 48 hours. But his dissent was overruled and the government went ahead with the appointments. The Association for Democratic Reforms moved to the Supreme Court today, opposing the appointments. The Apex Court has listed the matter to be heard tomorrow. Ashwin Kumar is here with the details. Ashwin, give us a sense of what happened in court. Give us a quick background and what can we expect now?
Well, allow me to bring in some context here. In March of 2023 is when the Supreme Court had frowned on the fact that there is no law that governs appointments to the Election Commission, and at the time had appointed a temporary selection panel comprising of the Prime Minister, the Leader of Opposition and the CJI, the Chief Justice of India. This was meant to be temporary. Now, subsequently, later that year, in December of 2023, the Centre passed a fresh law which replaced the CJI with a Union Cabinet Minister in the selection panel, which is what prompted a whole host of challenges being filed here before the Apex Court, which is what prompted these very same questions to come to light with the appointment of Gyanesh Kumar as the new Chief Election Commissioner. The question that was raised first by Rahul Gandhi, then by the petitioners here before the Apex Court, is that why is this appointment being rushed through? The question that Rahul Gandhi had raised as a part of his dissent note is that the Supreme Court is already seized of the matter. The Supreme Court is already hearing this case. The matter is sub judice, and if that is the case, why rush through this appointment? Why not wait for the Supreme Court to hear and decide this case? Finally, this was the very same submission that was made this morning by the Association for Democratic Reforms. They said that the Supreme Court judgment is being made a mockery of, that constitutional norms are being violated, and that there is no independence as far as this new selection panel is concerned, and therefore there is an urgent requirement for intervention for hearing by the Supreme Court. So importantly, the Supreme Court has agreed to hear this case. Tomorrow will be a critical day where the Supreme Court will look to give guidance on what happens with respect to this new selection panel, what happens in the interim, and what happens by when the Supreme Court will finally hear and decide this case.
And joining me now to take this discussion forward is Jagdeep, Chhokar, co-founder and trustee of the Association for Democratic Reforms. Mr. Chhokar, thank you for joining us on the program. Let me begin by asking you about the issues raised by you in your plea. ADR, the Association for Democratic Reforms, has approached Supreme Court about the manner in which this appointment has been made, while the process of appointment has been challenged before the Apex Court.
Let me first correct what your colleague said. The ADR did not raise the matter today after Rahul Gandhi raised it yesterday. ADR filed this petition 2 years ago, soon after this law was passed. And for the last few months, ADR has been filing applications to the Supreme Court, seeking an urgent hearing, repeatedly bringing to the attention of the Supreme Court that the current CEC or the then CEC will finish his tenure on February 18, and a decision should be taken before that. The last hearing was held on February 12, and one of the judges in the bench was taken ill, and therefore it was decided to postpone that hearing from the 12th of February to the 19th of February. Even at that time, our counsel informed the Supreme Court that the appointment might happen on the 18th or before the 18th, and therefore the hearing should be held early. But the Supreme Court said that we will take a decision, we'll hear it on the 19th, and if something happens before that, we will see what to do about it. So it is not post Rahul Gandhi's dissent note, it is 2 years before that, number one. Number two, since we have challenged this law, because we are the ones who had filed the original petition about making a law for appointing the election commissioners. We are the original petitioners, and we have challenged that this law, which is regarding the appointment, follows the letter of the Supreme Court judgment, but not its spirit. The Supreme Court judgment of 2023 spent about 200 pages explaining the rationale for this appointment, why this appointment should not be entirely within the domain of the government or the executive. The opposition and some other independent, neutral people should be part of the appointment. So, since the opinion of the Supreme Court, since the rationale of the Constituent Assembly has not been honored, we have gone to say that this law is violative of the Supreme Court direction and needs to be modified. We will know about that.
So you're saying, sir, essentially right now you're saying that considering that your plea, which you had filed 2 years ago, and the Supreme Court's own decision, the matter is pending, therefore the CEC should not have been appointed before the court had thoroughly disposed of the matter.
We had filed an application to the court to this very effect.
Right. What are you now seeking? What are you now hoping for in terms of relief, Mr. Chhokar?
We are hoping that the Supreme Court will say that this law that was being made by the Parliament is not constitutional, number one. And number two, it should say that the appointments made under this law are not valid because it was already under challenge before these appointments were made.
Right. Thank you so much, Mr. Chhokar, for joining us with your view. Let's also see what happens before the Apex Court now. One more question, if I could ask you, before we end this discussion. What do you think will be the challenges before the new CEC as far as conducting elections are concerned? The outgoing CEC has spoken about the questions raised by political parties time and again for political convenience regarding the electoral process.
I do not speak on behalf of any political party, but we as a civil society organization who has been working on elections for 25 years, we have worked with many election commissioners in the past, but over the last 6, 7, 8 years, the situation of the Election Commission seems to be that they do not think that people at large have a stake in the electoral process. They seem to think that only the candidates who contest elections and political parties are the stakeholders. They have steadfastly refused to give any information to citizens when it is asked for. And that is not an appropriate thing because the Election Commission of India is answerable to the Constitution. And through the Constitution, it is answerable to the people of India. So the primary responsibility of the Election Commission is to the people of India, neither to candidates, nor to political parties, nor to the government of the day.
Right. Thank you much, Mr. Chhokar, for joining us. Let's see what happens now in the Apex Court. We're taking a short break on that note, but coming up on the other side, United States and Russia begin talks in Saudi Arabia to end the Ukraine war. But neither Ukraine nor Europe get a seat at the table. A special discussion when we return with Meera Shankar, the former Indian envoy to the United States, and also Ambassador K.C. Singh, India's former ambassador to Iran.